First thing, I will let students sleep in my classroom. Let me explain. Welcome back to CWM University, where we learn together. And today, we're going to learn about some things I did in my classroom to help it run smoothly that you may not agree with. These are in no particular order, so let's get started. First thing, I will let students sleep in my classroom. Let me explain. Now, if I had students who never fell asleep in class, but one day they were just knocked out, I try to wake them up, they didn't wake up, I let them sleep. Because in my mind, I think about what did that student possibly go through the night before that they need to sleep, that they're tired. Some of our students go home and they're the parents to their siblings. At their age, they shouldn't be, but they are. They're taking care of different things for their parents while they're working, or they are in extracurricular activities. And we know these extracurricular activities are getting out of hand. Some students don't leave their after school activities till 9:30, 10. They play AAU ball, anything like that. Sometimes they stay out really late. So doing all that multiple nights a week and then coming to school and trying to function has to be hard. Also, if you're teaching middle school to high school, sometimes even upper elementary, students are growing. And when you grow, you eat a lot, and what you do? Sleep. And sometimes you just can't help it. Sometimes as an adult, you try to be professional, but sometimes as an adult, you just want to lay your head down and take a quick nap. So I didn't penalize the students for that as long as they didn't do it all the time. And now, if they were a habitual sleeper, I'll call home. Like, hey, your child is sleeping every day in class. I can't keep them awake, and then try to figure out what the problem is. But if it's like a random day on a Wednesday and they've never been sleeping, but they're knocked out, I'm gonna let them sleep and they can make what they work later. Because have you ever been tired and you sleep and somebody wake you up? What kind of mood are you gonna be in? Exactly. I don't wanna deal with that. So let them sleep. Let's keep the peace in the classroom and we'll worry about your work the next day. And my hope is too that if you take a nap in my class, you've rested for the rest of your day. So then you can stay awake in your other classes, depending on how sleepy you were. But I'm willing to take that chance for a day to make sure that my student is in a better mood. I let my students throw paper at the trash can. I noticed my first few years, students love to bottle up paper and shoot it at the trash can. They bottle up and say, Kobe. It was just a thing. And at first I was trying to stop them from doing it. Like, guys, walk to the trash can, put your trash in. And then it came to the point that I'm always fussing about it. And I don't like to just be talking to talk or fuss to fuss. So I had to find a way that I could be okay with this behavior. And I wanted to make sure that if they wanted to throw paper at the trash can, that they wasn't distracting other students. So what I did was I incorporated it into our learning. I'll give them their independent practice and say, if you get 5 problems in a row correct, you can bottle up some paper and throw it in the trash. I will always recycle paper, any paper that we had that maybe some kids wrote on it, or just some paper I had laying around that I was not using. We'll use that, bottle it up, they can shoot. You got to shoot one time. If you miss, oh well, pick up your paper and save it for the next time you get 5 in a row correct. Students really enjoyed it. I would even do too where the students, they would collect their piles of paper. So every 5, they'll get to bottle a piece of paper and be able to shoot it, and they'll wait until the end because they wanted to shoot as a class. I had some of those classes that were very competitive, so they wanted to wait and shoot at the end. I would give them like, hey, you can't pass this line, and when you shoot, you miss, that's it, throw it away, because now you only have so many balls that you can throw away. So this way, I wasn't fussing, and when they learned that we'll play that game, we throw it away, I didn't have problems with people shooting at the trash can. Every once in a while, a student would try me, but usually a student like, hey, we can't do that in this class unless we're playing the game. So I try to incorporate with their learning, kinesthetics involved, and the students really enjoyed it, and it was a lesser headache for me. It got to the point where, when people come in your classroom and observe you and just watch how you are with the students. One of my instructional coaches, she bought me a basket that had like a hoop, a backboard of a hoop on the back of it. And so I used that for many years where the students would shoot in it, and because it was smaller. So I was like, okay, do you want to shoot at the trash can, which has a bigger rim, or did you want to shoot at this small basket? And a lot of the students like, I want to try the small basket. And then sometimes I would do where if you made it, you got like, if I was doing dojo that year, you could get dojo points. Or if you made so many of them, you could pick from my bag of candy I kept in my classroom, just to make it an incentive and make it really fun for the students. So they're not so focused on, I do this worksheet, but they want to get the worksheet done because they have an incentive to get it done in order to have fun. The third thing, I let my students ask why without me getting annoyed with them. I was a curious child and I always wanted to know why. But I got because I said so. And I didn't want to do that to my students. Children are curious by nature. And I feel like a lot of things won't occur in children's life if they just know the why behind the actions of people or something that affects them. I'm going to explain why. Our schedule change. I'm going to explain why the schedule is changing. And I just say, oh, we're going to do this because I said so. Don't impede on a child's curiosity. It's just part of being a child. They're curious and they just want to know why. Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? They genuinely are curious about it. Number 4, I will let my students express themselves how they saw fit when they were upset. If I knew a student was upset, I'm like, hey, can you step outside for me? And we'll talk about it in a second. So I go outside. If the student were to happen to use some words that I deemed inappropriate for school, I never got on to them. I don't know what language is used at home and what's appropriate at home. But when it's just me and that student outside the classroom and they're talking to me, I'm going to let them say however they want to say. I'm not going to try to correct them or anything like that. Now, they're inside of my classroom and they're cursing or things like that. I would let them know that's inappropriate for school. And in my classroom, we don't use that language. Because I can't tell them you shouldn't be using that language at that time. I don't know how you talk when you get home. So I can only control what I can control. And then a lot of times when I took them outside in the hall and talked to them one-on-one, a lot of that frustration, they were able to voice their opinion. And then I was able to ask them questions like, did you think that action was appropriate for school? And we're able to work things out because I'm not judging them for how they're expressing their feelings. I'm letting them get it out. And now let's find a solution. And I'm not calling home because you was in the hallway saying 17 cuss words. We're going to talk about your language inside my classroom and make sure you don't bring that back inside my classroom. But I wanted them to be able to express themselves freely. And the only way I call home for you cussing is if it was a consistent behavior and I've asked you to stop several times and you just keep going at it. And then now we need to have your parents step in. But I'm going to try to stop whatever behavior in my classroom before I even try to get anybody else outside of my classroom involved. Number 5, I only work office referrals when absolutely necessary. To me, office referrals was just a lot of paperwork for them to go to the office and come back to your classroom and probably nothing's going to be done. I can probably count on my hands out of the 11 years I taught. I probably wrote 5 or 6 referrals. And 4 of them were because somebody got to fighting in the hallway and I witnessed it. You cannot not write a child up because you saw them fight. You have to write them up. And I think one of them was for a child skipping. And I had to write them up because I had to call the parent and let them know that they were skipping class. I feel when I have to send you to the office on an office referral, I'm losing the power. I'm giving the power to the administration to do whatever they want to do with their child. If I can handle it in my classroom or if I can call home and get some support from home and their behavior is corrected, then there's no need to write the students up. A lot of times what I've seen is teachers will write students up because their ego is bruised. And as if you've seen any of my other videos, I always say, leave your ego at the door. Why am I writing a student up? Because they told me they hate my class and they think my teaching sucks. Why? If I left my ego at the door, that's not gonna hurt my feelings. You're expressing your feelings and that's how you feel. But why do you feel that way? Because I know my teaching doesn't suck. And I know my classes A1. But maybe that's how you feel that day. So why am I going to write you up for that? What is that going to solve? How is that going to be productive and helpful for me and the students? Number 6, when I taught elementary, I was very strict about walking in the hallway with your mouth closed and in a line because I felt that how you acted in the hallway was a reflection of how I let you behave in my classroom. And I know growing up, my parents like, you're not going to go out there and embarrass me. So act like you have some sense. And now I tell my students that all the time, act like you have some sense. So we got in the hallway and students were out of line playing. I had to get on students several times. In elementary, I took recess time. Now, I didn't like whole group punishment. However, if it's a class and the majority of the class is misbehaving in the hallway, everybody's going to walk during recess time. So what I would do, I would explain to them, during recess, we're going to start off recess practicing walking in the line because I am disappointed in your behavior in the hallway. This is what I expect you to be. Walking in a straight line with your mouth closed, keep your hands and your feet and other objects to yourself. And I would tell them during recess time, we're gonna walk around the basketball court in a straight line. If y'all show me that y'all can do that twice, then we all get to play. If I see people playing, talking, touching each other, you're gonna keep walking in that straight line. So usually I'll just make the whole class walk around one time. And then if students are doing what they're supposed to, I'll call their name. John, Emily, Kason, KB, TJ, y'all can go. You're doing it correctly. All right, we're going to do this one more time. Let's see if the rest of y'all can get it together. And one thing you have to know about elementary students, 95% of them love recess, and they do not play about their recess time. So most of the time this happened in the beginning of the school year, and I might have had to do it 2 or 3 times with particular classes because I had multiple classes. But once they knew I'm not playing in the hallway, we didn't have that issue. I didn't have to call home to parents and let them know their student did not know how to behave. I didn't write anybody up. They probably lost 5-7 minutes of their recess time. And that's only if they couldn't get it right the first time around. Number 7, I was going to be honest when the students asked me about their appearance. Did I like their hair? Did I like their shoes? How did I feel about their clothes? If they gave me a drawing, did I like it? Because what you learn about students, they will always give you their unsolicited opinion. You can walk in and one day you think you look good, but when a kid say you look good, you know you look good because the students are not going to lie or tell you look good for no reason. Well, most of them are not. And so they ask me, oh, what you think about my outfit today? Or how you like my shoes? I would tell them honestly how I felt. Or if they gave me a drawing, if I didn't like something about the drawing, I said, oh, I like this part. Can you explain this to me? Because I didn't understand it. Or why did you put that on there? I was very honest with my students. And when students know that you're genuinely honest, they start to ask you for your opinion. They'll say, oh, let's go ask her how she feels about our outfit. Or does she like our haircut? Or what she feels about our truth. We know she's going to tell us the truth. And that just goes like with your relationships in life. If you trust somebody, you have a stronger relationship with them. You know that they're dependable. And with students, when they trust you, they will work harder for you. And they will make sure that they're on point and doing what you ask them to do because they know that you care about them and you've built that relationship with them. Number 8. I would let students eat in my classroom. Once I got to middle school, they took away snack time, which I would never understand because when you're in middle school up to high school, you're growing and you're always hungry. So why can't the students eat? Now, there were stipulations. 1, you have to clean up after yourself. And if you leave my floor dirty and it's food everywhere, you would not be able to eat in my classroom. I'm not cleaning up after you. I'm not the maid. You will clean up after yourself if you decide to eat in my classroom. And also when they ate like chips or candy or gum, if it's something that I liked, before you open that packet, let me have some. It got to the point, they knew that one of my favorite candies was Reese's. They would have like the whole family pack Reese's, and then they would open it, give me one, and then proceed to eat it. But long as you wasn't trying to be sneaky and eat it, I'm gonna let you eat. I know you hungry. Because a lot of times during the day, I got hungry and I'm back there snacking. So as long as we can clean up after ourselves and keep our environment clean, I was good with it. And number 9, one of my top rewards in the classroom for students' behavior, I would have them collect points or whatever point system we were using that year, because I've used several. But one of the big prizes was sitting at my desk. And what I realized is a lot of students would hold their points because they wanted to sit at my desk. When you got to sit at my desk, you got to help me put the things on the screen. You got to start the timer. You got to sit in my chair and just, roll around. Students love turning around in the seat. And I know a lot of teachers are like, oh no, they cannot sit at my desk because they're going to mess with my stuff and take my stuff. I wouldn't leave anything on my desk that I cared about where they could access it. Anything that I felt was of value, I would lock it up because I've been to numerous schools, and at some of those schools, students had the sticky fingers. And you look on your desk, you had it one time, and the next time you don't have it. This was a way for me to reward my students for good behavior, and it didn't cost me anything. It didn't cost me anything to let you sit in my chair for the day. Because most of the times I was walking around helping students or over here in this small group, I wasn't at my desk anyway. So why not? Let me know if these are things in your classroom that you allow as well, or you like, oh, no, there's no way. And let me know why. Why wouldn't you allow those things in your classroom? Are there other strategies that you use in your classroom that you think that most teachers won't use, but you use it to keep your environment calm? Well, let me know. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And thank you for watching. And you already know. Till next time. Peace.